She swore she loved me on. Maybe she did, but love doesn't sound like whispered phone calls at midnight or laughter that dies the second I walk in the room. My name's Josh. I'm 31. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and I've been a middle school science teacher for the last 7 years. Not exactly glamorous, but I've always loved the way kids light up when they learn something new, like how vinegar and baking soda can make a volcano explode, or why Pluto isn't a planet anymore. It's not the job people brag about at class. Reunions, but it's steady. It's meaningful. I live a quiet life. I get up at 6:30 every morning, make black coffee in a chipped mug I've had since college, listen to NPR while I shave, and head to Jefferson Middle School. I drive a used Honda Civic with a cracked dashboard. I meal prep on Sundays. I call my mom every Thursday. I've always been a guy of routines, simple, dependable, not flashy. That's probably why I fell for someone like Rachel. We met at a bookstore, of all places. I was in the science section, flipping through a Carl Sagan book I'd already read twice, when I heard someone laugh behind me, this full, unfiltered kind of laugh that made the air feel warmer. She was standing there in a red peacoat, with this wild bun of hair and bright eyes, holding a book on vintage photography. She said something like, "You look like the kind of guy who highlights his books." I do, and I told her that. We talked for an hour in the aisle, ended up getting coffee, and 3 months later, we were practically inseparable. Rachel was an artist. She worked part-time at a framing shop and took freelance gigs restoring old photos. Her apartment smelled like cinnamon and turpentine. She listened to jazz at night and played with Polaroids like they were sacred objects. She made everything feel cinematic-like. Life was worth documenting. We started slow. Thursday nights were for tacos and board games. Sundays were for grocery shopping and thrift store hunts. She'd fall asleep during documentaries I put on. Pretend to enjoy the indie films she swore were life-changing. We had a playlist called Us on Shuffle. Songs like Bon Iver's Holocene and that weird remix of Fleetwood Mac we both secretly liked. For a while it was good. Simple, even. She had a laugh that could make you forget you'd had a bad day. She'd surprise me with little notes in my lunchbox. I'd fix her kitchen sink. We had that rhythm couples fall into, brushing teeth side by side, trading bites of dessert, sharing the same blanket even though she always stole it in her sleep. But then, little things started to change. At first it was subtle. She started spending more time at work, late hours at the studio, odd freelance gigs. That just came up. She started sleeping with her phone face down. She stopped sending the lunchtime texts she used to swear she loved. I noticed the Spotify playlist we shared had a few songs I didn't recognize, tracks with names like Soft Gray and Midnight Feels. They felt ... private. She started locking her phone with a passcode. She said it was just because of some app she downloaded for banking. I believed her. I wanted to. The hardest part about noticing the cracks is deciding which ones to ignore. Then came the night that shifted everything subtly, but enough to twist my gut. We were sitting on the couch watching The Office reruns. I made a joke. I can't even remember what it was. Something dumb about Dwight. But instead of laughing, she flinched, like her mind had been somewhere else. She looked at me confused and said, "What?" It wasn't what she said. It was how her eyes looked when she said it, like I'd interrupted a dream I wasn't invited to. That night, when she went to brush her teeth, I saw her phone light up, just for a second. A name I didn't recognize. No last name, just Eli.
Ow.
She came back from the bathroom humming, kissed my forehead. Said, "You know I love you, right?" I nodded. But something inside me, some old, buried instinct I hadn't felt since I was a kid, and caught my dad hiding beer bottles in the garage, whispered, "Something's not right." And for the first time in years, I didn't sleep that night. I tried to shake it off. Told myself I was being paranoid. That Eli could have been someone from her freelance gigs. A friend. A cousin. But once you feel that shift, the one where the room feels colder, even when the thermostat hasn't changed, you can't unfeel it. I started noticing more patterns. She'd get texts late at night and tilt her phone away from me. Her laughter, the one that used to fill up every corner of my apartment, became quieter, more ... calculated. She said she was working longer hours. But her hands didn't smell like chemicals and framing glue anymore. They smelled like expensive cologne. I didn't wear, I asked her once, casually. How's the new gig going? She blinked. Too long. What gig? The freelance one. You said you had a new clientela. She froze, then smiled like I'd just told her a joke. Oh. Yeah. Eli's just a guy from the studio. He needed help restoring some negatives. Nothing major. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the next day, her phone buzzed during breakfast. I watched her glance at it, smile, and turn it face down. Then came the gaslighting. It started small. You've been acting weird lately, Josh. I feel like you don't trust me. I miss the old us. Why are you so in your head? I began to question myself. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was the problem. But then came the passwords. She changed the one on her phone, her laptop, even her iPad. When I asked why, she said, I read this article about digital privacy. It's just smart these days. She used to airdrop photos to me while we were lying in bed, funny memes, old selfies, new Polaroids. That stopped. Instead, she started taking her phone to the bathroom, to the kitchen. Even in the shower, she'd prop it on the sink like it was her lifeline. I tried to hold on to what we had, suggested a weekend getaway to Kansas City. She said she had too much work. I offered to bring dinner to her studio. She said it was too messy. Then I saw it. A DM notification popped up on her iPad before it locked. Instagram. The name, Eli Gray. The preview read, Last night was. What? All I got before the screen darkened again. I sat there frozen. I didn't even know she had Instagram installed on that device. That night I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I lay in bed with her, curled into me, pretending to sleep, while my mind replayed every weird moment from the last month like a bad movie I couldn't turn off. The next morning I made an excuse to work from home, told my principal I had a plumbing issue. I waited until she left, kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her. Then I opened her iPad. She had changed the password. Every part of me wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just sat there, staring at that locked screen like it held the last shred of proof I needed. I started paying closer attention. One night, I pretended to be asleep when she came home late. I listened to her whisper on the phone from the bathroom. Her laugh was soft, intimate, the kind you save for someone who isn't your boyfriend. Another night. I checked the GPS history on our shared Google account. Her studio was 30 minutes from the apartment, but on 2 separate nights her location pinged at an address I didn't recognize twice. Past midnight, one was a hotel near the airport, the other was a condo downtown. I copied the addresses down. Didn't ask. Just ... Noted it, then came the final blow. She left her laptop open while she showered. I don't even know what I was looking for. Maybe just closure. Her desktop had a folder labeled Edit Final. Inside were photos, dozens of her and Eli, him kissing her neck. Gosh, her curled up in his hoodie. One of her in bed my sheets. I didn't cry. Not right away, I just stared. For a long time, then I closed the laptop and started making a plan. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't even tell her I knew. That night, I made her favorite dinner, balsamic chicken with roasted sweet potatoes. We opened a bottle of wine. She laughed at something dumb I said and leaned into me like nothing had changed. But it had. Everything had. I spent the next few days moving like a ghost in my own life, teaching classes, grading tests, nodding through parent-teacher conferences, while my mind quietly pieced together a quiet kind of revenge. Not loud, not messy, just ... undeniable. I started collecting evidence. Screenshots of the GPS history. Photos of the texts she forgot to delete on our shared iCloud. The ones where she said things like, I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. And Josh doesn't suspect a thing. I printed them out. Every last one. Put them in a manila folder. Labeled it simply, Truth. I dug deeper. Found Eli's LinkedIn. He was a freelance filmmaker, the kind who posted cryptic quotes about art and vulnerability. At exactly 3 reels posted. One of them featured Rachel. I found his address, the same downtown condo from the GPS logs. The idea came slowly, not out of rage, but out of clarity. We were supposed to attend her cousin's wedding that Saturday. She had already picked out her dress. We'd RSVP'd as Rachel and Josh coming together, so I waited. On the morning of the wedding, I told her I had to run out early to grab a gift. She kissed me on the cheek, still in her robe, humming. Some love song like the last few months weren't built on lies. Instead of going to the store, I drove to her cousin's house. Handed the manila envelope to her father. He looked confused. "What is this?" I said, "You're going to want to read it before you see her walk down that aisle." He opened the first page, froze, looked at me like he suddenly understood. Something he didn't want to. "I'm sorry," I told him. I just thought someone should know. I didn't stay to see the fallout. I drove straight home, packed a duffel bag, and left a note on the kitchen counter. Read, "Rachel, you told me to trust you, so I did. But my gut knew the truth long before I did. You can keep the apartment. I'm keeping my dignity." Joshi turned off my phone for the entire day when I finally turned it back on. I had 11 missed calls, 7 texts, and a voicemail that started with "Josh, please. Just let me explain," and ended with silence. Next day I ran into Eli, not on purpose. I was getting coffee near campus. He walked in like he owned the sidewalk, wearing aviators and a leather jacket. Our eyes met. He paused, took one look at me and said, "Hey man." I didn't know I cut him off. "I know you didn't," I said, "but she did." He nodded, as if that somehow made it better. "It's over," I added, "with both of you." Just stood there, holding his $6 coffee, looking smaller than he did in those smug photos. I walked out, didn't look back. I stayed with my brother for a couple weeks. His guest room smelled like old gym socks and cheap aftershave, but I didn't care. It was quiet. It was honest. Rachel texted me every day at first. Some messages were pleading. "Josh, I messed up. I didn't mean for it to go this far." Others tried to twist the blame. If you hadn't pulled away emotionally, maybe I wouldn't have felt so alone. The worst ones were the ones that sounded like the girl I used to know. "Do you remember that night we danced in the living room? When we made grilled cheese at 2 a.m. and you said you'd never love anyone like this again?" I didn't respond. To a single one, her last message was just 3 words. "I miss you." I deleted it. She showed up at my work once. Waited in the parking lot after school. She looked smaller somehow, like someone who had unraveled from the inside. She was holding a box photos, old notes, that mixtape we made for road trips. She didn't say anything. Just tried to hand it. To me, I shook my head. "Keep it," I said, "or burn it." "I don't care anymore," she whispered. "I still love you." And for the first time, I realized I didn't. Not even a little. I started therapy not long after. My brother pushed me into it, said I was carrying too much weight in my chest and not enough in my hands. The first few sessions were brutal. Just sitting there trying to explain how I went from building a life to watching it collapse in silence, but slowly. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped asking what I could have done differently, because the truth was, I did everything right. I was loyal. I was honest. I showed up. She was the one who lied. The fallout was ugly on her end. Her cousin uninvited her from future family gatherings. Her dad blocked her number. Her mom sent me a message that said, "You didn't deserve that. I hope you find peace." Apparently, Eli ghosted her not long after I walked away. A friend told me she posted some cryptic poem on Instagram about love being a lesson written in reverse. I didn't even look. Instead, I started building something new. I moved into a 1-bedroom place on the north side. It's not much, just a couch, a crooked bookshelf. It's a view of the old train tracks, but it's mine. I teach my classes. I go for runs, I read again, and I breathe. There's this one kid in my 8th period class, Miguel. He reminds me a lot of myself. Quiet, thoughtful, watches everything. I caught him sketching a diagram of Saturn's rings the other day instead of taking notes. I asked him why. He said, because it helps me feel small. Like the stuff going on at home doesn't matter so much. I smiled. Yeah, I told him. Space'll do that. Some nights I still wake up expecting to hear her humming in the kitchen like nothing ever happened. Muscle memory, I guess? Other nights, I dream about the bookstore where we first met. But in the dream, I'm alone, flipping through that same Carl Sagan book. And it feels ... peaceful. People think healing looks like moving on, dating someone new, smiling in group photos. But for me, healing has been quiet, slow. It looks like cooking dinner for one, remembering to water my plants. Choosing silence over closure. I'm not going to pretend I'm better, but I am ... lighter. There's this quote I came across. In therapy, it said, "You don't heal by staying in the fire. You heal by learning to walk away from the smoke." And that's what I've done. I walked away. I'm still learning to trust myself again, to believe that my gut was never the enemy. It was the alarm I kept hitting snooze on. Rachel took pieces of me. I'll probably never get back. But she also taught me something I needed to learn, that trust isn't a gift you hand out just because someone asks. It's something you earn, slowly, consistently. She told me to trust her, so I trusted my gut instead, and that saved me. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories like this.